facilities have their own dire implications on the whole area and the whole region, actually, because aside from the nuclear facilities that are in the heart of Iran, in Natanz or in Iraq, or in Fordo in Qom, or in Tehran also, the medical nuclear facility. There's another facility on the Gulf, which is Bushehr. So these are all facilities that, in case they're hit, they are going to cause really dire implications, not only on the Iranians, but on Iran and on the surrounding.
Okay, so no confirmation at the moment of what targets have been hit. As you were saying there, you know, these could have been direct targets on potential figures.
Yeah, we can see buildings that were hit. I can see pictures of buildings. There are kind of precise hits towards certain floors in a building, for example. A couple of floors, I see them on the camera, on the phone. But this gives an indication on how things were happening in the past hour.
Absolutely. Okay, Ali Hashem in the studio with us. Thank you very much. Now, we are hearing the Defense Minister, Israel Katz, has declared an emergency situation across the country due to Israel's action in Iran. Now, that's a statement saying that following the state of Israel's preemptive strike against Iran, a missile and drone attack against the state of Israel and its civilian population is expected in the immediate future. Katz says a special order according to which a special state of emergency will be imposed in the home front throughout the entire state of Israel. Well, Tawhid Asadi joins us on the phone from Tehran. Tawhid, so confirmation now coming into us that Israel confirming that they have struck Iran. Tawhid, what more are you seeing on the ground there?
Well, here in the capital, between at around 3 a.m. local time, we have heard several sounds of explosion. Between 6 to 9 explosions have been reported to be heard at the capital of the country, and I personally heard 2 of them at least. But it has been said that these explosions have not happened at one certain place, but rather in different parts of the city, and the sound of explosion has been heard from different parts across the capital, not necessarily one part. And now the state TV, IRB, have confirmed the happening of the explosion and has just showed a footage of different places from which we can clearly see smoke coming out of the scene. And we know so far that different parts in the west neighborhood of the capital, in Mahallati, located in northeastern part of the city, which is known for as a residential area, known for having buildings that relate to residence of military officials. And some of the footages also coming out indicate that the buildings look to be residential, but also it has been said that, again, on social media, no independent confirmation is available here, that a research center has been hit in this series of attacks. And the air defense system around the capital, inside the capital, is now active. And we had this report from the state TV saying that the Israelis have claimed to be conducting this attack, and that the air defense system is 100% prepared for anything. That was what we heard just a few minutes ago from the state TV of the country. And also the news is coming out citing American sources telling Reuters that Washington has got no involvement in this strike. We know just a little bit of the context that it happens just following the adoption of a resolution at the Board of Governors of IAEA which puts forth the claim that Iran is now experiencing a case of non-compliance, and Tehran very extensively responded to the adoption of that resolution, which could mean further escalation, not only in the arena.
Okay, I think we've just lost Tawhid there, joining us from the capital, Iranian capital, Tehran. Let's go to Noor O'Day now, who joins us on the phone from Amman. Noor, what more are we hearing in terms of what is Israel saying about these strikes and the reasons behind them?
Well, there are no explanations for the reasons. Of course, striking Iran is an issue that has been long running in Israeli politics. It's a goal of the Israeli government, that it was not secret. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, has been trying to convince Donald Trump that negotiations was a bad idea. At this point, what we are hearing is from the radio of the Israeli army, the home command. The Israeli army has changed instructions for the Israeli public, changing the status in the country from full activity to essential activity. That means that there is a prohibition on educational activities, gatherings, and workplaces except for essential sectors. The public is required to follow the guidelines, of course, and as they do, they know that the Israeli Security Cabinet is meeting. The airspace over Israel has been closed off, and they would be awaiting for more instructions as they become necessary. But already the Israeli radio of the army is saying that Israel is preparing for days of battle ahead.
Okay, thank you very much for now, Noor. Let's go to Alan Fisher in Washington, D.C. Alan, I understand you have some news for us coming in.
Yeah, we're trying to keep across of all the latest lines. As I said, that Donald Trump is currently at the congressional picnic at the White House. That apparently is now wrapping up. But we're being told by a number of reports here in the United States that Donald Trump has convened a cabinet-level meeting to discuss the strikes. That would involve members of his national security team, like Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and also Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth as well. Apparently, this meeting was set before the strikes were announced, and we know that Donald Trump has, for the last couple of days, suspected that the Israelis were going to push ahead with some form of assault. That's why we saw 24 hours ago the partial evacuation of the embassy in Baghdad, and also the recommended removal of non-essential staff in other embassies across the Middle East. Donald Trump tweeted out that he expected there to be a diplomatic solution, that he'd directed his government to work for that, and he was hoping that the talks with Iran would still go ahead at the weekend. He knew that there was likely to be an assault, but said that he didn't favor that idea. He wanted to give diplomacy a chance. And just checking on social media, a number of people that you would consider to be allies of the president are saying effectively what has happened here is that Benjamin Netanyahu has thumbed his nose at Donald Trump, who's in the middle of very delicate negotiations, by pushing forward with these attacks. And now, of course, what's important is how Donald Trump reacts to that. We know that Donald Trump has said over a number of phone calls recently that he didn't want Israel to attack. We know, because there's reporting of it, that the Israelis were very keen on Donald Trump getting involved in some sort of military attack earlier this year. But he said no, he wanted to continue on the diplomatic track. So he insists that he is committed to a diplomatic solution. That's what he said on social media just a couple of hours ago. But just to recap, what we're hearing from local reporting here in Washington, D.C., is that Donald Trump is convening a cabinet-level meeting with some of his national security team, obviously, to discuss what has happened. But this meeting was planned before the Israelis announced that they had gone ahead with an operation in Iran.
So this is
Let's turn
Tehran,
now
the
to Al
capital of
Jazeera's
Iran.
correspondent Ali Hashem in the
Missile.
studios. We're just hearing
might
news
get out
coming into
bigger and
us of a
bigger.
new wave of strikes.
It seems so. I'm talking to someone in Tehran, and he's saying that there's a new wave. At least he's hearing explosions. Now, according to the reports coming from the ground, this wave, the first wave, was aimed at certain personalities or commanders in the IRGC. And these commanders might be very instrumental. Now, whether these attacks succeeded in killing these commanders, this is something that we do not know. We need to confirm. But at least for now, what we know is that there is an attempt to kill some instrumental commanders in the IRGC in a way that they will dismantle the command and control within the system, within the military leadership. And this, of course, will have its own implications on the management or the direction of how this confrontation, because this is going to end in a confrontation. The Iranians at the end are going to retaliate. Are they prepared to that? This is another question. Does this attack did it succeed in killing those who were targeted? This is also another issue to investigate, and we'll continue to investigate with our sources on the ground.
Okay, I just want to bring in now Trita Parsi, who is the Executive Vice President of the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft. He's joining us from Reston, Virginia. Thank you for being with us. Trita, let's look at the background to this. I mean, in terms of the geopolitical conflict, the tensions that have been building over the last years, months, and now the last few weeks, why are we now seeing explosions in the Iranian capital, Tehran?
Well, the Israelis have been pushing for this ever since Donald Trump won the election, and even before that. But Trump defied them, made sure that they did not make any attacks. But something has clearly changed in the last week. Now, Trump is publicly saying that he opposed this, he didn't want this. But reality is, in Tehran, they're not going to be convinced by that. They don't believe that Netanyahu would defy Trump in this manner. And if he did, they would want to see evidence by seeing strong retaliation by Trump against Netanyahu for essentially having sabotaged diplomacy and Trump's prospects for getting a nuclear deal. So I think they're much more prone to be convinced that this is something that Trump essentially gave at least half a green light to. And he probably did so in order to, because he fell for the Israeli argument that if the Israelis can essentially bomb Iran a little bit at least, that will soften the Iranian negotiating position. Quite the contrary, I think we will see a cancellation of the talks on Sunday, and the Iranian position will be significantly hardened, which is exactly what the Israelis were looking for. They're looking for ways to sabotage the diplomacy, collapse any prospects for a deal. And again, the analysis in Tehran is not one in which a strong separation is made between Israel and Netanyahu and Trump and the United States. And they would believe that the United States was essentially in on this one way or another.
Okay, so you mentioned there, Trita, the talks about Iran's nuclear program that are due to take place on Sunday, another round of talks. So, I mean, what is likely to happen there? You say that positions might become clearer?
No, I think those talks will not take place now. I don't find it likely at all that the Iranians will go to the table after the Israelis have attacked them. And incidentally, the exchange of fire may actually continue all the way till Sunday. So I think the immediate impact of this is that it will sabotage talks. Crucial time will be lost. The Iranian position in general will be hardened. And I think you will see the Iranians being far less likely to agree to compromises. So even though Trump may have thought, if he gave a green light to this one way or another, that this may actually help his diplomacy, I think he will discover that it's quite the opposite. Now, if it is so that he actually genuinely really told Netanyahu not to do this, and Netanyahu nevertheless chose to defy the American president in the midst of his negotiations, then the question is, what will Trump do about Netanyahu?
Okay, Trita, stay with us if you would. We're just getting reports in that Israel has targeted Iranian commanders and sites directly involving Iranian commanders. Ali, what do you make of those reports coming into us?
Well, in fact, now
That's what they do
there are
first.
going to be several measures taken. And as we are hearing now, there could be a leadership meeting in Iran to decide on what they're going to do, what's going to be the next step. Of course, there are plans that there should be plans, but now the whole region is in a situation of war. It's back to what we were witnessing just a year ago and during the exchanges between Iran and Israel. But this time it's different. In the past time, it was in retaliation to an attack on a building in Damascus where an Iranian commander was. Today, there's a clear Israeli attack on the Iranian capital. There's an Israeli targeted assassination to several Iranian military commanders. And this would mean, and as Trita was saying, possibility of having a meeting on Sunday, the 6th round, actually, I mean, I could say 99% have evaporated.